Okay, cool. It's recording. Hello, Professor Lee and everyone else. Ignore the laundry in the back. It's finals week. It's been busy. All right. Let's get to it, shall we? All right. So I am going to share my screen. Here we are. Boom. Alrighty. From the beginning. So my pitch deck is for my short film concept, Breakneck. And as you can clearly see by the image in the background, it has to do with a broken neck. Let's get into it. So, logline. Franklin, a charlatan, accidentally kills his first customer at his new chiropractor business, requiring the help of his sister, Christina, to aid in the disposal of the body. However, one thing leads to another, and the duo soon find themselves in even deeper trouble than before. Yes, that is a very long-winded logline, but there's a lot to cover. Like most homicides, there's a lot of layers to it, although this one's a more accidental scenario. So it's manslaughter. It's manslaughter. All right, mood board. So these are the films and also show that I used for inspiration. Especially, I would say, out of the six, Ash vs. Evil Dead, Fargo, and Weekend at Bernie's. The Evil Dead franchise is just fantastic at using some of the most horrific and gory moments captured on cinema and using it as a humorous device and makes you laugh. And that's something I want to capture as well. With Fargo, it's sort of the mundane area of America, not much happens. And then what do you know? The most horrible thing imaginable happens. Well, not really the most horrible thing, but, a very grisly thing. I think that's a good way to put it. I mean, look at the photo. He's got like a foot, in the wood chipper. Classic moment. Weekend at Bernie's, I never saw it. I just know they carry a dead body around. Okay, visual design. The film will be or look as if it was shot on 16 millimeter film to capitalize on that grainy / grungy aesthetic. And the way I thought about the framing, so when you look at this image from Pulp Fiction, I think Honey Bunny and Pumpkin? Honey Bunny Pumpkin. I think I'm right. It's been a while. They're in the same shot. They're smiling and they're leaning in. They're on the same page. Meanwhile, when we look at this shot, or these two, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino from Heat, it's the same shot. However, I cropped them out and put them separated because they're not on the same page. That is exactly what I'm going to incorporate for Breakneck when the characters Christina and Franklin are talking. If they're not on the same page, they're not going to be framed in the same shot. They're going to have their own shots. I think it heightens from a subtle visual sense the rift between them whenever they're arguing or bantering over something, which siblings do, So coloring. In the beginning, there will be an earth tone and many grungy colors. Seen here from Dexter, there's a lot of sort of earth tones, kind of dirt, a little bit of tan, some rock colors. And I really want to capture that because I want a tone of mystery and suspense. When you like something akin to, let's say, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, people are gonna, go, hey, what's going on here? And lean forward in their seats. Now, in the second half of the film, when they move outside, it's an entire different situation. They're outdoors. There's a sky. There's natural light. The grass is green. The flowers are blooming. And it contrasts the tight space and opens it up, but it also is sort of ironic in a sense that it's a beautiful day without a cloud in sight, and there's this horrible act that these characters are committing. So right here, first shot versus last shot. Again, it feels like a murder thriller. It isn't. It's a dark comedy. I like this shot because it gives a sense of mystery and interest. Open any movie with this shot, you got me hooked. It's my bread and butter. And then this shot right here, in my mind, The last shot will not be as dark and ominous looking. It'll be more so comedic. I think actually a better representation would have been Ash from the Evil Dead mood board, but I don't know. That angle I'm going for. All right, character breakdowns. This is for Christina. Tenacious and driven, Christina has garnered many accolades over the years. Married with children, she's able to balance a healthy home life alongside her impressive career as a realtor. So Christina, she's the type of person, anything she touches, it just turns to gold. She's the wonder child of the family. She's had nothing but success in high school, college, great academic record. Wonderful at sports. She played like 3 different sports. She was in all these different clubs. She was a real go-getter, and she's never been familiar with failure. I would say it's a very unfamiliar sensation or experience for her. And the actors below, I just feel they naturally encapsulate that character before even acting, before putting themselves in the shoes of Christina. All right, now Franklin. So Franklin, quite the opposite. He's deemed the disappointment of the family who struggles with every venture he dabbles in. He never finds much success at anything. Franklin still finds himself living with his parents years after flunking out of college. And I think it's kind of funny because a detail in the script is he's still sleeping in a race car bed that he had from when he was a kid. So, he's a child at heart, so to say. I really wanted to have that sort of older sister, younger brother dynamic between the two. But again, Franklin, he's not necessarily a bad guy. He's just someone who hasn't found himself yet. And, it's weighing on him. He doesn't have a lot going for him. Franklin's in a bad place, What can I say? And then the actors below, again, I think they just inherit and embody the essence of Franklin in a way. Not to say that they're disappointments. They're incredibly talented. I'm just saying they can just fulfill the character role, And plus, they have a great dynamic with the actresses that I picked. In fact, they've both been in projects together at one point in time. So, major story breakdowns. So the setup. Christina arrives at her parents' house and meets Franklin in the garage regarding a pressing emergency. She gets a phone call out of the blue while she was, giving a house tour, and, she has to bail on the house tour and go help her brother. So she's in a bad mood when she arrives. Naturally, of course. She thinks this is a minor situation. Franklin got his head stuck between the toilet and sink again or something like that, but it's far from it. The inciting incident is basically Franklin explains he turned the garage into a makeshift chiropractor office, and he accidentally killed his first customer by wrenching his neck too far, thus breaking it. So Franklin, he doesn't stick to one thing. He's always jumping from one job to the next, or, he's venturing out into entrepreneurship. So by watching a few YouTube tutorials, he thinks, oh, I could be a chiropractor. And you also don't need proper certification to be a chiropractor. So it's a mix of just bad deals, and it all leads to this. Conflict and obstacles. So Franklin needs Christina's help in disposing the customer's dead body. The problem is they need to do it fast before anyone discovers what happened. So they have to work against a ticking clock. The parents aren't home at the moment, but they could arrive from errands, or maybe they're seeing a movie. And they also have the chance of being discovered when moving the body. Because again, it's during the day. And they can't leave the body in there. It's all dismembered. It'll start to smell. Very grim details, but trust me, it's humorous in the situation. Stakes. Obviously, if they get caught, they will go to jail for homicide. But there's more at stake for Christina because she has more going on in her life as opposed to Franklin. That's not to say Franklin's life isn't worthy. Not at all. It's more so just showing that, she has more on the table. She has a family. She has a husband. She has kids. Franklin's single. He's living with his parents. And he doesn't have a successful career as a realtor. Yeah. So, moving on to climax. Deciding to bury the corpse in their neighbor's backyard, Christina hops their fence as Franklin passes over yard work bags containing the limbs of the customer. However, one of the bags ripped, resulting in blood and a severed arm to fall into Christina. Enraged, Christina argues with Franklin how he's nothing but a failure and never takes responsibility for anything. That might seem a bit brash, but contextually in the script, it's mentioned, of course, I mentioned it earlier, how she's always bending backwards for Franklin. Franklin never gets out of his own messes. He always needs his older sister to help him out of these situations. And after years and years of doing this, she finally snaps, covered with blood, holding a severed arm. It's ridiculous. And the reason why Franklin chopped up the body was because he figured it would be easier to dispose. Again, a lot of weird choices that these characters make. Christina questions why they're doing this. Why are we burying it in our neighbor's backyard? Why did you chop up the body? Like, what are we doing? Maybe he wasn't even dead. And she answers these questions. And I think it heightens a little bit of the humor, a little bit of the ridiculous, and Franklin's shortcomings in thinking this through. Anyway, resolution. In the end, Christina and Franklin settle their tension and make up. It also turns out the neighbor's grandfather was home, and he threatens to call the authorities. Franklin offers a free chiropractor session to the grandfather, who takes up the offer, but winds up dying due to Franklin wrenching his neck too far. So it's funny, and it's ironic, because in the end, Franklin and Christina do make up. Franklin sees the errors of his ways and realizes he has to grow up. He hasn't grown up. He's still sleeping in that race car bed. He's living with his parents. There's nothing wrong with living with your parents, but, he's in a place of stagnation, and he has been for a while. But then it's ironic because, okay, yeah, they get over that hurdle. They continue to bury the body. And then, the grandpa of the neighbors are there. And he's like, what's going on, And it's also funny because Franklin's able to bribe him with a free chiropractor session, which results in his death. So then they wind up going back to square one, where they don't have one body, but they now have two bodies, which then goes to the last shot of the chainsaw getting revved up. Because once more, Franklin's going to dismember a body. Wonderful stuff, I know. Very, very lighthearted. Anyway, location list. So it's 2 locations, a garage and a backyard. So the garage, this is exactly what I'm going for. However, there would be a futon in the middle. And around the garage, there would be scented candles, gentle music playing, and some posters of swans or, something ideally calming that you would see in a chiropractor place. He's trying. Franklin's trying. You got to give him that. And then backyard, this is the complete opposite. As I said before, when we go outside, it'll be, like a flashbang. Not really a flashbang, but it'll be shocking. We have open skies, not a cloud in sight, green grass, and the neighbors have a very modest house, and as you can clearly see, a big backyard, which is perfect for moving the body parts around and burying it at different areas. This makes it sound like I've thought about this before. I haven't. I've never thought about burying a dead body, just for the record. So major props. It's quite simple. This right here is kind of a one and done deal. This is what Franklin wears when he's cutting up the body, and he has like a rain tarp underneath it, which he prevents the blood from getting onto the floor. And then these are the trash bags, or the yard bags containing the limbs. And this is one of the limbs that falls out onto Christina. Costume design. Okay, so Christina, I saw her dressing like a mom because she is one, but also as a realtor. She wants to give a home improvement vibe. She wants to give an HGTV vibe. She doesn't want to wear a suit. This comes out of my own preference. I don't understand why realtors wear suits. It's weird. I don't get it. I don't like it. Like, what are you doing? So costume design. Franklin is wearing scrubs. Now, I didn't do any research to see if chiropractors wear scrubs. So if they don't, I think that just makes it funnier. Because again, Franklin, he's only watched YouTube tutorials on how to be a chiropractor. And I feel their appearance, but also their colors are separate. You know, we've got a very vibrant, earthy tone that also is complementary to the garage environment. And then we've got, you know, more of this blue. Is that periwinkle? I don't know. Now the grandpa. What can I say? Looks like a grandpa. And then the customer, he's from Michigan. That's all we know about him before his death. So he's dressed rather plainly, but you know, he dies. So storyboard, title card, of course. So for this shot, we're going to establish more of the environment through a pan. And during that pan, we have Franklin enter, and we see him pacing around, muttering to himself. Then in the next shot, he hears a noise, he turns, and the garage door is opening. Thus, Christina enters. Here, they're on the same page because he needs Christina's help, and Christina needs to know why Franklin wants him here. Over here, she's peering around Franklin, looking at something. And what is that something? It's a futon. Look, it's even got like the glowing lines radiating off of it. So she sees the futon, and then, you know, she's like, well, you know, what the hell is a futon doing here? And he, you know, he explains, oh, you know, I became a chiropractor. You know, we have these over-the-shoulder shots as they talk. And he's like, yeah, I became a chiropractor. And she goes, wait a minute, you a chiropractor? Like you're not a chiropractor. What, you know, what makes you think you could do that? And he says, you know, Christina, I watch plenty of YouTube videos. I'm as professional as it gets. And she's like, professional? Like, what are you talking about, man? And then she turns and she's like, this whole garage, you know, your whole chiropractor base of operations is in our parents' garage. And then, you know, he's like, you know, everyone has to start somewhere, Christina. You know, can I finish what I was saying? And she's like, yeah, why'd you even call me out here anyway? And then it cuts over to the flashback and subsequent manslaughter of the first customer. Here's a shotless version. It's pretty much the same thing you saw on the storyboard. You know, rather simplistic at first because of the tightness, and a lot of it is medium shots. Because number one, it's a tight location, and number two, I want there to be a build of intensity. When watching Good Time and Uncut Gems, they do a lot of medium and bust shots, and that's something that I would like to capture. In the backyard, though, there will be more wide and long shots, but for the most part, I want to keep it up close and personal. And thank you. That is the end. I probably went over the time. If I did, I apologize. You know, this is a very fun concept. You know, I feel there aren't enough dark comedies out there. Maybe I'll continue down the road and get this done. But I kind of had an idea about a python choking someone out and he dies, and these guys steal his toaster oven. I'm kind of more interested in that now. And that's sort of the ironic thing, you know, it's like you think of these ideas and you're like, oh, I really like this. And then suddenly you think about another idea that you like more. But I don't know, maybe someday we'll see Franklin and Christina come to life and materialize. Again, thank you guys. Thank you, Professor Lee. And it was a great semester. I had a blast. This was a lot of fun.